Hi, everyone. It is January 4th, 2023. I don't know that I will be dating all of these, but I definitely wanted to date this one since it is the beginning of a new year. And there is always something to be said in the new year about making changes. People talk about resolutions, they keep up with them for a while and then stop and doing different things, right? Myself included. But I don't really look at them as I guess I'm always working on myself, so I don't like start anew on things more so. Well, I do start anew on things, but anyway, it's complicated. I just try my best to stop my repetitive thinking about things I keep saying I should do and just do them and incorporate them right away. So I've mentioned this before and talked about it before. This book, The Power of Oneness, that is like a Bible to me. It's called The Power of Oneness by Sandra Brossman, and it's Live the Life You Choose. And I wanted to read and start with chapter 5 because the new year and talking about changes and the discussion, or I guess the saying maybe that you've heard a lot in our culture, that people don't change. We've heard that a lot, and I've really actually never really believed it because I've seen people that change, but you have to want to. Right? You have to sincerely and deeply want to. And what is going to make you want to change, make them stick, and really kind of creates some sort of permanency and get out of those habits. And not to say that the changes are permanent, but that's kind of the goal you're going for, right? You want to break away from those old habits and things. That's your goal. Okay, so chapter 5, in regards to opening to change, that involves forgiveness. And I'll explain about how this relates as we go, but this video is going to be way too long if I read the entire chapter, so I'm going to break it up in parts, okay? Give you some time to think about it. So chapter 5. In order for our world to evolve to a society centered around spiritual integrity, we have to heal the past, beginning with our own personal lives. As we discussed in Chapter 2, we can create new realities by expanding our perceptions to a higher perspective. However, the only space and time in which we are able to make choices is in the spiritual reality of the moment. More often than not, we are not functioning in the present because our minds are preoccupied with thoughts based on emotional wounds and prejudices of past relationships and experiences. Staying focused on the past crowds the mind with negative thoughts and blocks the flow of our creative energy, resulting in stress, pain, and disease. When we predominantly invest the energy of our thinking on events and people from the past, we feel stuck and powerless to change our lives. Yet our human tendency is to tenaciously hold onto past behavior patterns, no matter how painful, simply because we fear change. In this chapter, we begin our personal healing process by understanding our fear of change. Once we have faced our fears, we can free ourselves from our bondage to the past through the process of forgiveness of ourselves and others. Forgiveness is by far the most powerful tool we have to release our attachment to painful associations from the past. So the question is, isn't it important to remember the past? Past experiences serve us well when we learn from them and use these lessons as a springboard from which to launch new thought patterns that promote our health and growth. When we perceive the past as a series of universal guideposts continuously guiding us towards truth, we are acknowledging our spiritual path to wholeness. But remembering is not the same thing as becoming entrapped in old patterns of behavior simply because we are afraid to make changes. We have an amazing propensity to hold onto the familiar, even if it is causing us harm. How often have we clung to a destructive relationship, a job we have long outgrown, or even a consistently poorly performing financial investment just because we are afraid of change. Our fear of change can be a powerful force which holds us back from evolving in our spiritual growth. So, why do we fear change? Generally speaking, our greatest fear is of the unknown. Interestingly, it isn't the actual situations we experience that cause us to feel terrified nearly so much as our fearful anticipation of worst-case scenarios. The changes we fear are only limited by our imagination. Fear of the lack of success and fear of success. Fear of not being loved and fear of being loved. Fear of losing a job and fear of staying stuck in a job. Fear of not being married and fear of getting married. Fear of not being accepted by a college and also of being accepted. And the list goes on. Change tends to be something we want everyone else to do. If we hold on to this idea, our lives become a series of ifs. If only so-and-so would be nicer to us, we would feel better. If our boss would change, we would like our jobs more. If our spouse would change, our marriages would improve. While all this may be true, it is irrelevant because we can only change ourselves. When we avoid taking responsibility for changing ourselves, we are placing virtually everyone else in charge of our lives, which is many times the very thing we fear the most. Avoiding or denying fear only intensifies it because what we resist persists. Therefore, the most effective way we can handle it is becoming aware of what we fear. When we are children, we tend to be afraid of the darkness. Interestingly, as we grow older, we are more likely to be afraid of the light because it exposes our hidden fears and invites us to deal with why we are holding on to the past. It is important to remember that feelings are transitory. We can experience fear without adopting it as our permanent reality. Like the imaginary childhood monster who disappeared when our parents turned on the light, fear dissipates when it is brought out of the shadows and into the light of awareness. When we become adults, we can turn on the light for ourselves by taking an honest look at some of the rationalizations we use in order to avoid change. Okay, I'm just gonna bulletproof these next bulletproof. I'm just gonna bullet these segments into the next video, which I'm going to go into because again they're in length. Okay, so just to see if you want to listen on further. Okay, rationalizations we use in order to avoid change. Number one, we want to feel safe. We need to ask ourselves, safe from what? Are we really safe when we cling to the familiar? Okay, number two, we don't have the courage or strength. Courage, meaning heart, does not mean the absence of fear. Indeed, we all have fears. Okay, number three, we want to be comfortable. We need to take a reality check on this too. If we are not moving forward, we eventually become stuck in the status quo. Is it comfortable to feel stuck? Okay, number four, we don't want to experience confusion. Indeed, change does cause confusion, and what a blessing it is for us. Number five, we want to avoid pain. In our attempt to avoid the pain of change, we many times hold on to the past. Okay, and then going into the last couple of pages of this chapter, actually it's more than a couple of pages, I'm going to talk about how does pain serve as a powerful messenger of truth. So I'm going to end this video with that because it also reminds me of when I look back my history and upbringing, where did I learn that pain was information? And I'm a little bit having a difficult time finding the exact moment, but I do know, this is funny to hear this, even from myself. For some reason, very, very early on, as I was exposed to skateboarders and meeting them in Pennsylvania, and looking at those people in extreme sports that I was so attracted to is all of the falling and all of the pain and everything that they go through and get up and do it over and over again, to include all of the broken bones and the surgeries and different things that they go through. So, yes, personal experience and different things regarding my mom also played a role. But, I look back at it like, really, how do I define pain? Like, what what was that? And I don't really look at it as, that person. I guess at the time I looked at it like that person or my mom like was hurting me with her words or things that she said that made me feel rejected. But like, I have a hard time putting into words what I actually like feel is actually pain. I don't know, maybe the breaking of your heart. Again, very complicated, or I make it complicated in trying to define this, but I hope with this book and what I'm going to be talking about in the next video, reading these sorts of things, it'll kind of explain it more. But for a very long time that I can even remember, pain has been a source of information for me. Okay, so whether that has to do with your own personal soul that likes challenges or whatever it is, which I realized later that is a part of my path, for some reason attracted to struggle, or have always felt like, I've had these personal struggles, whatever the reason is, that's how I guess I'm able to talk about this today and want to try to explain it. Okay, so I will meet you in the next video. Again, this is chapter 5, The Power of Oneness. So yes, I will talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.